Golf Central on YouTube, brought to you by TaylorMade.
Welcome to Golf Central. I'm Todd Lewis. In what is not a surprise, but sobering nonetheless, the U.S. Open at Winged Foot, scheduled for September the 17th through the 20th, will be played without spectators. The USGA making that announcement Wednesday in conjunction with New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, citing safety concerns for the coronavirus. Counting next week's PGA Championship, the first two majors for 2020 will be without fans. Senior Managing Director of Championships for the USGA, John Bodenham, joins us now. John, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Let's get into the decision. The New York area, Westchester County to be specific, home to Winged Foot, at one time was a hotbed for this virus. It has subsided significantly there, which is great news for that area, but still no fans. What ultimately were the biggest factors in your decision?
Health and safety, Todd, number one, as it has been all year for the USGA, and everything that we've done in deciding to conduct the 4 championships we'll conduct, and everything else we've done this year. You're right, the tri-state area here in the Northeast has been through a lot, and we worked through a journey the last several months with the state of New York, the governor's office, Winged Foot Golf Club, and today we're really grateful to be able to play the U.S. Open at Winged Foot in September.
All right, let's get into the bones of what will happen in September. Outside of players and caddies, who will be allowed on the grounds, and will there be testing for all those individuals on the grounds?
Well, along with players and caddies, it will be essential workers only. Those that will really be needed from staging the championship, all of our USGA staff, which will be scaled back significantly, in setting up the golf course, in planning for everything logistically that we would do, even for a U.S. Open with no fans. There'll be minimal club staff. We will have several hundred volunteers, down from several thousand. And it will really be only those that are essential to conducting the championship, including our partners at NBC Universal and Golf Channel, who will broadcast to millions around the world. We're excited about that.
And finally, what to talk about the setup. Of course, whenever you and your staff at the USGA set up a U.S. Open, it is always a buzz. But you're going to have no spectators. And we have seen over the years when players hit wayward shots, fans may stop the ball, or if it goes into an area, fans have trampled down some of the deep stuff, making it a little easier. That's not going to be the case this year. Will not having fans affect the setup at all at Winged Foot?
It'll, as you said, it'll have some minimal effect on what happens outside the ropes. Players that hit it outside the ropes, they'll have to contend with some of, maybe a bit more in areas of that Winged Foot rough than they otherwise would if we had some fans trampling it down. Just the overall look of everything, things that they won't see, those big crowds around putting greens, and that what might happen around the teeing area. But generally, the setup will be the same. And I'll tell you what, I was up at Winged Foot yesterday, and boy, it's magnificent. Steve Rabideau, the golf course superintendent, and the club have it in wonderful condition. A little bit of a heat wave in the northeast right now, but coming through that beautifully, and it'll be ready for the players. And it will be Winged Foot, and we will just let it be Winged Foot. It just oozes U.S. Open.
The fans will be missed, John, but it will be a spectacular show, and we are looking forward to it in September. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you, Todd. We're excited. It'll be an exclamation point for quite a year if we can crown a champion at Winged Foot. It's exciting times.
Again, no fans at Winged Foot this year. No local and sectional qualifying for the first time in more than 100 years. Field size will drop to 144 instead of 156. New exemption categories, including the top 70 in the world instead of the top 60 from the cutoff date of March the 15th. But I can promise you they're going to still hand out a major championship trophy and a big, fat check. Hi there again. Thanks for tuning in with us here on Golf Central. Todd Lewis with Trip Eisenhower. They're going to hand out a nice check in Memphis this week. The WGC-FedEx St. Jude Invitational. And we're going to take a look at some of the featured groups. Jon Rahm, #1 in the world, new #1, playing alongside Bryson DeChambeau. Rahm and DeChambeau, you could say they probably are the hottest golfers in the world right now. Ricky Fowler making up that threesome. Rory McIlroy, #2 in the world now, with Jordan Spieth and Webb Simpson, a 2-time winner of the PGA Tour this season. Brooks Koepka is the defending champion, playing alongside Reed and Hovland. Justin Thomas playing alongside Colin Morikawa and Hideki Matsuyama. Morikawa defeating Thomas in a playoff just a few weeks ago. Pete Cowan works with Koepka on his short game mostly. He's an old school, no-nonsense coach, and he had this to say about Koepka to a reporter from the Daily Mail, which is a UK newspaper. He said, quote, "When you get an injury as bad as that," talking about Koepka's left knee, "you're never 100% right again. But I don't think it's a problem. That's finding excuses for the fact that he's swinging it badly. We don't need excuses. We need to sort it out." Now, Pete Cowan gave those comments earlier this week. He is on site at TPC Southwind, and so is our Chantel McCabe. She joins us now from Memphis. And Chantel, can you shed some light on the reconstruction of Brooks Koepka's mojo?
I sure can, Todd. Interesting what Pete Cowan said, but he explained to me today that he made those comments before he worked with Brooks Koepka on Sunday, then again last night for several hours. Pete said that last week he was unsure about Brooks's game. He said he was doubtful he could put together 4 rounds, but after those 2 sessions working together, Pete said he's now encouraged. When it comes to Brooks' game and the improvements that need to be made, he says the biggest change is his attitude. He feels like that needs to be a lot more positive. Pete said instead of addressing that in those 2 sessions they had, he chose to adjust his swing, which he thinks will then in turn help his confidence and then take care of that positive attitude. Today I talked to Brooks Koepka about his recent missed cuts and exactly how that left knee is doing.
No, just getting better and better every day. It feels more comfortable. It's just little things where we spent all day Monday working on some things, and it was probably the best cut I missed. Got a lot of work done and was able to really figure out what was going on. A little scared to get on my left side, whether, a lot of times it might be a little bit physically, but it's a lot more mentally. So you just got to handle that and go and move on and try your best to get through it. I had Pete Cowan come down on Sunday. We worked with Pete, drove down from Orlando, and then Monday spent pretty much 8 hours with Claude. So it's not from a lack of work. I'm trying. Made some adjustments, trying to set up differently to the ball, just to kind of help ease my mind. It's a lot, I'd say 70% mental when it comes to actually getting onto the left side. I was doing the complete opposite. I wasn't getting on the left, I was getting on the right. And they look identical when you see them on video, except for, face on, there's maybe about 2 inches of my head going back. And so just made an adjustment in the setup.
So as Brooks Koepka defends this week and next week at the PGA Championship at TPC Harding Park, there's another top player in the field this week with some injury concerns. That's Dustin Johnson, who has 6 World Golf Championship titles to his name. A few weeks ago, he won the Travelers. The following start, he missed the cut. And then last week, he withdrew due to a back concern. I asked him how that's doing. He said his back is 100%. It was just because a couple of bad swings put him in a bad spot. But he's excited to tee it up again this week and maybe get another WGC added to that resume, Todd.
Chantel, I want to get a health update in regards to a prominent caddy of the PGA Tour, Justin Thomas's caddy, Jimmy Johnson. He was unable to finish in Justin's last start, the weekend at least, and that is at the Memorial. How is his health, and is he there in Memphis this week?
Yeah, we saw Jimmy Johnson yesterday, but it turns out he returned home for some testing. I talked to Justin Thomas to figure out what's been going on. You mentioned that Mike Thomas, Justin Thomas's father and swing coach, filled in for Jimmy Johnson at the Memorial. This week he's going to have Jim Mackay Bones, as we affectionately know him, on his back, not just this week, but next week. It's unclear what exactly is happening with Jimmy Johnson. He had a dizzy spell at Memorial, and he had another one this week at the WGC-FedEx St. Jude Invitational. So it's still unclear what exactly that stems from, but we'll be finding out the answers soon enough. Justin Thomas will play 5 of the next 6 weeks. He said he'll use Bones this week and next, and then make a decision from there, Todd.
Chantel, thank you very much. Nice job by her getting us an update on players and caddies. Good to see Jim Bones Mackay, a member of the family, out there walking the fairways once again. But let's get back to Brooks Koepka. Those were interesting words I heard from Pete Cowan in regards to his psyche. Where is his mind and his emotions right now?
Well, I think what Pete's saying is he's got a little bit of a confidence problem, and it comes from swinging badly. That's what happens when you get in bad habits with your swing. You're not doing things with the golf ball that you want to do, and then consequently you lose your confidence. And what do you got to do? Well, you can't be confident until you start hitting good, consistent shots again, and that's the process. But there you see the knee's got some tape on it, and Brooks said, look, the head was going back because he couldn't get to his left side. He wasn't covering the ball properly. He was probably backing out of it and flipping at it with his hands a little bit or holding on. And those are, when you saving shots with your hands, it's a timing issue and it never lasts. It's not consistent. One of the things I saw, I was out with him in the first round last year at this tournament, and he did not play very well. I mean, it was a round that didn't look very good, but he was so confident that even if he hit a few bad shots here and there, which he did that day, the short game saved him. He was so confident he never seemed to waver, and Brooks was on that kind of high. He shot 68 that first round, went on to win the golf tournament. So when I look at him at this golf course, and if it is just a setup change that it allows him to now, so his head doesn't go back, and as he comes through, he's able to cover and get on top of the golf ball. If he starts hitting some good shots and he gets the right feel, and you know it as a player, you're like, ooh, that felt good. And then if it can keep repeating after that, then your confidence comes back. But one of the things I like about Pete Cowan and coaches like this, they're not scared to speak their mind. They're not worried about losing their job. And a lot of people surround themselves with yes men. You don't want a bunch of yes men around as a player. You want a caddy and you want a coach that can speak up and tell you when you're doing bad habits or getting into bad habits.
And knowing Brooks, I followed him a lot of years on the PGA Tour, and he probably wants someone to tell him what he needs to hear, not what he wants to hear.
Amen. Exactly.
We'll see how that works out.